Hello, budding doctors of United Kingdom. I'm again Vijay Singh here with my second video on scientific knowledge and application. So let's look at the next physics question. So this physics question involves a graph, and you are given a displacement time graph. And the displacement time graph, if you look here, the displacement time graph has the time along the x-axis and the displacement along the y-axis. And they want you to calculate what is the speed of the wave. So in order to understand what is the speed of the wave, first you need to know what is the speed of the wave mean. The speed of the wave actually means how fast the energy of the wave is transferred. And the formula for the speed of the wave is frequency times wavelength. So when you multiply frequency along with the wavelength, you get the speed of the wave. Now, wavelength is already given here. It's 1.5 meters. So all we need is the frequency. So if we are able to calculate the frequency, we'll be able to calculate the wave velocity. So now the question is how to calculate the frequency. Now there is a formula that connects the frequency and time period. So if you look here, frequency is 1 over time period. Now, the time period is the time taken by the wave to complete one oscillation. So this is the time period of the wave. If you look from the graph, the time period of the wave is 2 seconds. So from there, we could actually calculate the frequency. So frequency, which is 1 over time period, that would be 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 is 0.5 hertz. Now the velocity is frequency times wavelength. So you have the frequency now 0.5 and you have the wavelength, which is 1.5. So you have 0.5 multiplied by 1.5. That gives you 0.75 centimeters per second. And if you look at our options, we have our option C as 0.75 centimeter per second. So the right answer is option C. All right, one more question on waves. Look at this question. They have given the depth of the water in a particular tidal harbor varies with time as shown in the graph. So you could see this graph here. You see this graph here. And what are they asking for? They're asking for the amplitude and the frequency. So let's understand what is the amplitude. Amplitude is actually the maximum displacement from its equilibrium position. So if I were to talk about like here, like let's say the equilibrium position would be somewhat here. So the maximum displacement from the equilibrium position. Now, since here they haven't given you the equilibrium position, a good way to calculate the amplitude would be to calculate the length of the vibration path and first take the length of the vibration path and divide it by 2. So once you calculate the length of the vibration path and divide it by 2, that would give you the amplitude because that would actually give you the maximum displacement from the equilibrium position. So what's the length of the vibration path? So if you look here, this is 10 and this is 16. So that would be half of 16 minus 10, and that gives you 3 meters. So our amplitude becomes 3 meters. However, we have A3, B3. So definitely it has to be between A and B. Now let's look at the frequency. So frequency, the definition of frequency is the number of vibrations made in 1 second. And frequency is 1 over the time period. Frequency is 1 over time period. The definition is the number of vibrations made in 1 second. Now, if you calculate the time period, you see the time taken for one complete wavelength to pass through a point. You see the time period here is technically this entire thing. So that's 12 hours. The time period is 12 hours. So if you convert 12 hours into seconds, you would get 12 times 60 times 60, which would be 12 times 3,600. because 60 times 60 is equal to 3,600. So when you sub in the values of time period in this formula, frequency is 1 over time period, you would get 1 divided by 12 times 3,600. So now we got our amplitude as 3. We got the time period as 1 divided by 12 multiplied by 3,600. And that would give option A, because option A, the amplitude is 3 meters and the frequency is 1 divided by 12 times 3,600. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have fun uh, solving these questions. I'll meet you again with my next video next week. Till then, have a lovely time.